Hi everyone, welcome. And I just told you about Rob Raopel and the amazing influence he's had on my wealth mindset. So I'm proud to welcome you on our training for tonight, Rob. How are you?
I'm doing great. And you say it's tonight, but here you are drinking a glass of wine. For me, it's early morning because I'm in Canada.
Right.
And so now you're making me jealous.
I know, I know. Have you guys noticed that I'm often drinking a glass of red wine as I do these calls? It's because red wine is healthy. At least people whom I want to listen to say it is. So I have a glass every single night as I'm doing these calls. It makes the calls a lot more fun.
Well, and you said something very key there too, that people you choose to listen to and it's what you believe, because that's what's going to make it more healthy for you is the fact
Right.
that you believe it as well.
Absolutely. So this is the book. This is the book, Secrets of a Millionaire Mind. This is the book that started it all. This is the book that I I read. The book came with a free ticket to the Millionaire Mind Intensive Seminar. I mean, it's so literally. I want you guys to know I'm not suggesting in any way that you fork out thousands of dollars to attend this seminar. Actually, you kind of get a ticket free when you buy the book. Is that still correct, Rob?
Yeah, in most places, and if not, they can find ways to actually get tickets gifted to them to be able to come to the event because we want to help
Cool.
as many people as
Cool.
possible.
Yeah. So if you get a chance to go, go. And I already shared with you the story, shared with the list the story of how that seminar influenced me. But what we're going to do here is we're going to talk about some of the key ideas from the whole Millionaire Mind intensive training that people can directly apply in their life. Because this call is all about not just theories, but actual applicable systems that people can bring in their life. Now, for those of you listening, as you know, I believe that money is energy. I recently, actually just today, I had an amazing day wealth-wise. A tiny little app company that I started just got a valuation of 10 million. We started about 18 months ago, just got a valuation of 10 million. It's just a tiny five-person employee company and really, really, really psyched. But when I think about it, I just made, and I own 100% of that company. So I today suddenly became that company added gave me at least 8 million in paper money. In other words, money that's not real money but on paper. If I chose to sell the entire company, I would pocket 8 million. Not bad for 18 months work. But years ago, that would have been impossible. Years ago, I was extremely, extremely, extremely broken. When I say years ago, I'm talking about May 2008. In May 2008, my company, Mind Valley, was struggling. We were making about a quarter million a month, but we were losing $15,000 a month. And if this had continued, we would have had to actually fire employees. We were that close to firing employees, and me and my business partner at that time were about to completely shut down. Now, what happened was, of course, as you know, when you're going through a shitty situation in life, you tend to go within. So I went within and I started reading every book I could on personal growth. Now, I was really into personal growth, but practice is sometimes so different from theoretical knowledge, right? This is one of the books I picked up, Secrets of a Millionaire Mind. Other books I read were Esther Hicks, Ask and It Is Given, as well as Neil Donald Walsh, Home with God. Those were three books, right? And as it turned out, I also found out that the Millionaire Mind Intensive seminar was coming to Malaysia, was coming to our home, to my home city of Kuala Lumpur. So my partner and I decided to go for the event, and with us we dragged eight of our employees at that time. We were like an 18-person shop. Eight of our employees decided to come. We managed to score free tickets, right? Because you guys were basically just getting started. You were giving tickets away for free for anyone who bought the book. So we just went to a bookstore, picked up a number of copies of these books, and showed up to the event. So what happened was we went for the event. Now, we were running a business. We had 18 employees. So as far as we thought, our wealth mindset was okay. Yeah, maybe we were going through a hard times. Maybe we were losing money, but we thought it was just a phase. But when we went for the seminar, in the first day, you guys really pissed us off. I know that me and Mike were on the verge of leaving. We actually wanted to leave because they were, it was a seminar. It was loud. It was noisy, and we felt that the speakers were telling us stuff we really already knew. But by day two, something shifted. Day three, me and my partner at that time, Mike, my business partner, were actually broken down in tears because we realized how much corrupting ideas we held on abundance that we were still carrying with us. I can't speak for my business partner, but he had a couple of issues he identified regarding his father and how that had influenced him. His father had been very wealthy and had basically lost his hearing due to overwork. And so my business partner had created these ideas that if you work too hard and become rich, you are going to destroy your health and lifestyle. I had ideas that the only way to get rich was to work really, really, really hard and sacrifice family and being a good dad to my 1-year-old son at that time. And I was carrying that with me. And because I really didn't believe in working long hours, but having a nice balance, I also indirectly believed that I would never, ever, ever get rich. And so I wasn't. Both of us were carrying massive debt. My business partner, who had graduated from Stanford, owed $100,000 to Stanford University. I had crazy debt as well. And it just wasn't a good lifestyle. But within 8 months of that seminar, now remember, we'd been in business for 5 years, right? So this wasn't just 8 months later. We'd been in business for 5 years. We were losing money. And if our business collapsed then, everything I built up for 5 years, I would have lost. I would have lost, had to lay off 18 employees. I would have had nothing with me. I would have been better off if I never started Mindvalley. But after the Millionaire Mind Intensive seminar, so many things shifted in our head that in 8 months, we grew our business 400%. In 8 months, May 2008, we were making $250,000 and losing 15 grand. December 2008, we had our first record $1 million month with massive, massive, massive profits. Now, what caused that shift? Well, I realized that making money wasn't about your IQ or how smart you are or how intelligent you are or the best business ideas or strategies or the smart people you hire, but it's all about mindset and the energy towards money. I've been a believer ever since. To this day, Robin and everyone else listening, I work a lot on my money mindset as much as I work on my entrepreneurial training. And that money mindset is what keeps me growing. Now, I've maybe made about, at least on paper valuation, right? Tens of millions in the last year alone. And it comes easy to me. And I'm incredibly wealthy. And I've been able to start my own philanthropic foundation. In the last 1 year, I've given away maybe about $300,000 to $400,000 to various charities that I care about. I've been able to build a gorgeous new office for my employees, and I've been able to build multiple businesses that are changing the world by spreading personal growth and education ideas, all because of a flip that happened in my switch. So the question to all of you listening is firstly, I want you to think about this model, that money is energy. And if you're suffering right now in terms of not getting the money you want, it could be due to a belief system that you have in your head. And what we're going to now talk about is how to recognize this and how to start fixing this. Okay, so the question was, what was it that you guys taught me, right? What was it that I did? And that's where you're going to take over, Rob. I'm hoping that you can share with us a couple of practical techniques that people can implant in their lives immediately to shift their money mindset. Oh, wait, one more thing I got to share. I got to share this, Rob, because this is really, really, really cool. You're going to like this. Remember I said I took 8 of our employees with us? 8? Okay, so we actually studied this, right? 1 year after that event, of those 8 employees, 3 left us because they started their own companies. They left us because they started their own companies because their money mindset had exploded. One customer support agent happened to get a big bonus about 8 months later. She went to India, studied yoga, came back, started her own yoga company, became the #1 yoga instructor in the city. And now she's extremely well off. And 3 started their own company. 1 actually ended up doing nothing because she was an intern from college. She had to go back to school. And the other 4 all ended up getting dramatic increases in their salary because they got promoted. So how about that? It was 100% impact on all 10 of us that were there. So,
and that's that's the kind of things. That's one of the reasons I do what I do, and what I love to do what I do is because those are the kind of stories I get to hear on a daily basis. Yeah. And you said a couple key things, and one of the things I'll touch on right away is people think it's about working hard and how much money they make, and in reality, it's not about working hard and how much money you make. It's about doing what you love and how much money can you keep. Because it doesn't matter how much money you make, you can spend it all and still be broke, as you were experiencing. $250,000 a month and still going in debt $15,000 a month. And so when you change your mindset, and one of the things that we right away start teaching people is you've got to basically get your money working for you and have your money working in specific ways. In other words, managing your money by dividing your money up. And, I'm going to use it like the analogy like this. In Mind Valley, you have in Kuala Lumpur, you have over 120 staff right now. Is that about right?
Now about 150.
Okay. And do every one of those people come to work each day and all do the same thing, that like they're all 150 working on one website, or are they all doing different jobs that they're specialists at?
They're doing different jobs that they specialize in.
Yeah, and that's the same thing with your money. And so people think, well, okay, I'm going to get my money, whatever comes in, and I'm just going to spend it. But they've got to realize they've got to actually get their money working for them in specific ways so that each job can be taken care of by a specialist.
You were saying you got to have your money specialized in different tasks.
So, talking about each money has its own specialties. And so that's why you got to make sure you split it up and use money for what it's supposed to be used for. And I believe you even said before that you realize money is energy, and that is totally true. And so that's one of the biggest things people need to learn. So we actually teach people a great system where you have 6 different accounts that you use your money for. And each account has its own specific job. And if you want, I'll actually go through all 6 of those really quickly with you. Is that what you'd like for your people?
That was such a powerful system that my wife and I applied in our lives that I absolutely want you to teach that to everyone listening.
Great, my pleasure. Now, I will let them know because, again, people's mindsets, and especially depending on where they are in their life right now, I want them to understand that I'm going to be talking in general. I'm going to talk about some percentages, and depending on their income, depending on their age and where they're at, their percentages may be a little different. And I don't want them to get caught up in the percentages. What I want them to really focus on is I want them to focus on the habit, because it's that habit that's going to be more important than everything. And, especially because I know you deal with a lot of very, very brilliant people, very smart people. And that's great because your mind is one of your greatest assets. But unfortunately, your mind is also one of the greatest hindrances in your success, especially if you tend to overthink things. And so I want to keep it very, very simple. And I want the people that are listening to this call, I want them to say, okay, I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to listen for the habit, and I'm going to get started with the habit. Because if they do that, that's where their life is going to change. Mm-hmm. And so the money I'm talking about is I'm going to take 100% of whatever your take-home money is after taxes. And the very first thing, and you've heard it said in a lot of different ways, pay yourself first. So the first account we talk about is something called the Financial Freedom Account. Financial Freedom Account, this is for your retirement, for you to be able to have a great life when you step back. And the key thing about your financial freedom is we want you to take and put at least 10% right off the bat into that account before you do anything else. Pay yourself first. And with this is money that you're going to invest in stocks and bonds. If your country has a retirement type of savings where you can grow it interest-free or tax-free for a while. This is where you get things like if you have a passive business income where it's money working for you, but you're not having to work at the business. These are the kind of things that you use this money for so that you can get it to grow and as quickly as possible. Any interest that comes from this, we want you to take it and wrap it back right into that account so that it grows quicker, using the power of compound interest. And here's one of the very, very big keys about this account, though. This is money. The capital amount of money in this account, it is never, ever, ever to be spent. You only ever, when it's time to retire and you want to live, you live off the interest that the account's providing, never the capital itself. And as an example, I know with your family, you and all the work that you do, you want to leave a legacy. Would I be correct in assuming that?
For my family, absolutely.
Yeah. What people don't understand is because I want to leave a legacy for my family as well, but not just my children, but I want to leave a legacy for generations to come. And one of the most powerful ways you can do that is as you learn to manage your money and you teach your children how to do the same thing, when it comes time to that you're passing away and you're leaving an inheritance, ask them and put in your will that the capital amount in this account, no matter, even though you're leaving a whatever amount to them, the capital amount can never be spent. They are only ever able to utilize the interest that comes from that account. And the reason you do this is because if you've taught them to manage their money, all of a sudden this capital amount gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And all of a sudden, generation to generation, you create wealth for all the years to come. And that's what gets me really excited.
Right.
And so that's why I love that concept. And so that's your FFA account, your financial freedom account. Pay yourself first.
So that's the first one, FFA. Now, just so we understand the steps, how many are there going to be?
There's going to be 6 accounts in total.
6. Okay, so the first one, 10% of our cash goes into the account, never to be touched.
Right.
Okay.
Just use it to grow it. Grow
Awesome.
it as much as you can. Absolutely. The second account that we talk to people about is something called an LTSS, which stands for long-term savings for spending. We know that people want to, they have the toys they want to buy. They want to have a nice house. They want to have a car. All these things that they have to spend money on, but maybe it takes them a little bit of time to save up for it. Or maybe they want to go on a very special vacation with their family, as an example. So it's going to take time to save up for that. And so this is an account where you take 10% of your income, you put it into this account, and now you use that. So, to give you an idea, you may have 2 or 3 things that you're saving up for the same time. And so you can use little portions of this 10%. Again, I'm going to imagine, because you have children, you're saving up for their education as they get older. Is that correct?
I don't believe in university, so actually no.
Okay.
But
Oh, you and I could have a whole conversation on that in itself. Okay. For what people are taught in the normal world, let's phrase it that way.
for normal
They
people,
want to, they want to save for their children. So that's what you would use this account for, is their education as example. Mm-hmm. And actually on that point, let me be specific. I'm not saying it has to be a college education, but if you want to save up for your children to be educated where they get to travel around the world learning, that's education as well. You want to save up for your children to go to some kind of, as an example, the author of the book, Secrets of the Millionaire Mind, T. Harv Eker, his son was in university, and his son was in university because his dad said, I want you to go. This is time to socialize and learn. Go and learn what they're teaching you. And in the summertime, he would actually travel and spend time with his dad's friends, and they would teach him real world principles. Like one summer, he spent the whole summer learning about real estate and how to get real estate working for him. So he saved up money to do that, to be able to go and spend time with them. So when we're talking education, it doesn't have to be the normal school system.
Good point.
Yeah. And so that might be what one of your jars is for, or one of your accounts. Or maybe another thing that you want to save money for might be that down payment on the house, as I said. Or a big one, because we're talking about mindset. And as you know, and we've had conversations on this, your mind is so powerful. And what you focus on is what you're going to bring into your life. It's what you're going to manifest. That's why meditation is so, so great, because you're able to quiet your mind and put your attention and intention on what you want to create in your life. And so some people, they say, well, okay, this account is something I would use for having my emergency fund, just in case. And that's awesome, but that sucks. Because if you're focusing on having emergencies because you have an emergency fund, you're going to attract those into your life like crazy.
So Rob, tell me again, it's long-term LTTS, right?
No, LTSS.
LTSS, long-term savings.
Savings for spending.
For spending. Okay, long-term savings for spending. Got it.
Yeah, money you're going to spend.
Right.
But you may have to save up for a bit.
And this would also include, say, saving up for a car or a house. So it can be something not practical, but something that we just want as a fancy toy.
Exactly.
Got it.
That it may take you a little while. You may not have the cash right in your hand. You need to save up for it. Absolutely. There's no limit to what you can use this account for. Just have fun and get creative.
Awesome.
So that's the second account. And so you got 10% in your FFA. You've got 10% in your LTSS. The third account, and this is something that, again, let's think outside of the box, because it's not talking about what people might deem as normal type of education. But your third account is called your education fund. And this is for you. This is for you personally. This is not for your children. It's not for your family. This is money that you're going to use to educate yourself to grow who you are. Because as you know, unless you're growing, your money's not going to grow. And there's actually a universal principle that does say your wealth can only grow to the extent that you do. One of the reasons you and I are as successful as we are is because we are avid learners. Even though we teach people, we still learn. And I'm going to guess, like me, you probably learn more than the average person. You dive into your education more than the average person.
Right.
Would I be correct in assuming that?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And people think, well, okay, we're on stage teaching people, we're running these big companies. That must mean you're done learning. Wrong answer. I know that I've got to keep learning. And so we put 10% into my own education. And I'll tell you, even though I teach dozens of seminars around the world every year, I'm also attending seminars all year long. I'm sitting in that audience, I'm taking notes, I'm learning, and I come from the perspective that, and here's a big difference too, let's talk about the mind, and let's talk about focus. Some people will come into a seminar and they'll be like, this better be worth it. And they come in with that focus, and all of a sudden, because their energy and their focus is that this is better be worth it, they're looking for every little thing wrong. And if that's what they're looking for, that's exactly what they're going to find. I'll let you know, I've been to some of the most terrible trainings in the world, but because I come in with a mindset of I'm looking for one gem, one little thing that I can take from this session that will help me out. And because I come in with that focus, I don't just find one gem, I find 2, 3, 4, 5. And so even if it's a terrible training, I come out with something great, and I'm thankful that I went to the learning. And I'm thankful. And that's what your education fund is for. You put 10% aside so that you can keep learning. Real world learning. And that's the key, real world. So that's your third one. Now we go into the fourth one, which is called your necessities. And this is your everyday expenses. And we suggest that people start off with putting 55% into this one. And so in your necessities, your mortgage payment or rent, car payments, gym memberships, whatever it is that is your month-to-month different expenses that you have. And of course, one of the questions we get, or one of the concerns we get from people, they go, "Oh, Robert, 55%? I wish that's all I needed to use for my necessities." And I was in that boat as well. When my wife and I learned this, our necessities account was well over 100%. We were going in debt for a reason, because we had too many things we were spending money on. And so a couple things to understand on this account is, one, when you learn about the different accounts, some of the things you thought might be a necessity are actually taken care of by other accounts now. So that's one way. Also, there's something called discipline. If you're taking more than 55% for your necessities, either start earning more or living on less. And I'll be very blunt with people on this one. There's no one sitting there with a gun to your head saying you have to live in the house you live in, drive the car you drive, eat at the restaurants you eat at. These are all choices you have. And if you want to create wealth in your life, you've got to start thinking long term. What's going to benefit me in the future, even if it's maybe not what I want right now? Maybe if I'm even held back right now and not getting the things I truly think I want. So you've got to think long term instead of short term. And that's one of the big keys. And when I do trainings, I tell people all the time, I can only come from my experience. When my wife and I first learned this, our necessities over 100%. Today, our necessities are not 55%. Our necessities are less than 20% of the money and income we bring in. So we've been able to reduce that amount and be able to put the other money into other things. And that's why I make the statement right at the beginning. Depending on your age and your income, the percentages will be a little different, but you've got to get started. You've got to get in the habit no matter what. That's the key right there. So that's your necessities. And so that's 1, 2, 3, 4. The fifth one, and I know, Vishen, you and I love this one. This account is called the play account. This is where the nice red wines come from. This is where you nurture your inner child. And I'm going to get your input on this because you see it with all the people you deal with around the world. There's some people who live way too serious lives. Would you agree with that?
Absolutely.
Uh-oh, did I lose you? Oh, okay, there you
No,
go. Okay.
we're back.
Yeah. Yeah, there's people that are way too serious in their lives because they've never learned how to have fun. And we all have an inner child in us. And if we don't allow that inner child to play, then we're going to sabotage ourselves. No matter how brilliant we are, no matter how hard we work, we've got to be able to have some fun. So by taking 10% of your income and putting into a play jar, money or a play account, I call it jars and accounts because that's the way we teach it, is you take 10% and you spend this money on anything you want and you do it guilt-free, watch your life change. And so I'm gonna be specific on this. This is if you enjoy going out to a restaurant with your family once a week, once a month, whatever it is, that's not what you use this money for. This is to go to one of those restaurants you would never go to because you don't think you could afford it. Those restaurants that have no prices on the menu, because they're so expensive. And you walk in and you don't sit there and go, what's cheap? You go, no, I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. Bring it all to me, and I want that bottle of wine. You do outrageous things to have fun. This is where, like going to a fest, this is the kind of money you use to go to Awesomeness Fest because you're going to go have fun. You're going to have a brilliant time. You're going to learn a lot, and it's going to change your life. Those are the kind of things you do. You get ridiculous with this money. I use the example all the time. Can you imagine walking into a McDonald's, you buy a Big Mac, and you pull out a bottle of champagne, and you $300 bottle of champagne. You put it on the table beside you. You are going to get some looks, and it's gonna be people are like, what are they doing? You have some fun with this, and watch how that changes your life. So,
And how much do you recommend we put into this play account?
10%. And one of the other things I'm going to talk about is understanding your money personality. And so there's people who are what we call spenders, and they're going only 10%. Part of this is keep it to 10% and get creative. Get creative with what you're going to do with that money. See, so some people, for me, no problem spending 10% or more on having fun. So for me, the challenge was getting creative with the little bit amount of money I had in the beginning. What could I do with that? How could I get outrageous and make it really cellular changing? Today, 10% allows me to do pretty much anything I want. So that's the fun of it, is you learn to deal with the money that you have, the percentages that you have.
So now,
if that makes sense.
Now we have 5% left, right?
Yes.
Okay.
You've been doing the math. and that takes you to the final account. And the final account, even though it's the last one we're talking about, by no means is it the least important. They're all important. And this is the one where we talk about giving back. This is an account that you use as your giving account to help less fortunate, help charities, to those things that you really want to support. And a lot of people go, okay, but Robert, I was taught to give 10%. And a lot of people are taught that, and that's not a problem. But remember what I said, get in the habit. Especially, and I don't think the people on this training session maybe are necessarily in this kind of situation where they're struggling or they're absolutely broke. But I'm going to say this. One of my frustrations is that it's pounded into most people's head, give 10%, give 10%, give 10%, even when they're struggling, even when they can't even take care of their own family.
Yeah.
And that frustrates the hell out of me. Because if you can't even take care of your own family because you're giving away money to help others, what are you doing? And so I tell people it's very important that you give. So think of, and again, let's get creative. What else can you give other than money?
Right.
You can give your time. My wife and I, in the beginning, again, we had no money. So we volunteered a lot. Today, it's very easy to just write a check. But today, not only do we give more than 10%, but we also still give up our time because we enjoy giving and being there and helping. So you start with wherever you're at. If it's hard to give 5% even, then see where you can volunteer and help out and give of your time. Because, ladies and gentlemen, your time is one of your most valuable assets.
Thank
And
you.
so don't discount that.
Thank you,
Do
Rob.
not discount.
Now we're gonna be right back. Rob, as you guys know, I like to be very informal in these webinars. Now, I just have to shift to a different room because my wife is also doing a webinar right now, and
Okay.
we are taking turns looking after our 5-month-old baby. So I'm just going to move to a different location where I can hear Eve if she wakes up. Okay, I'm going to call you
Perfect.
back.
Perfect.
Thanks, Rob. So to recap, 55% goes into your necessities. This should cover food, clothing, shelter, all the basic stuff you need to survive as a human being. 10% goes into a savings account that's going to earn long-term interest, and you're never allowed to withdraw money from that account, only withdraw the interest that you earn. A further 10% goes for long-term savings, college education for the kids, an upcoming car you want to buy, a new home. 10% goes into your play account, and this is money you're meant to spend creatively to have fun. So that is now
Guilt-free.
guilt-free, so that you can feel wealthy, live wealthy. 10% goes to education because you never want to stop growing. And finally, 5% is money for giving away to charity. And while most people say 10%, you say 5% because you feel 5% takes pressure off people, therefore has you feeling better about yourself, but it's still considerable giving, well, relative to 99% of the population.
Exactly.
Perfect,
Exactly.
perfect. And I love that. And I love that. And when my family and I had taken the Millionaire Mind Intensive and we were, coming out of the debt that we were, this model really, really, really helped us.
And that's it. And that's the key. And one of the things too is remember on your giving, as you start reducing your necessities below 55%, that's when you can increase the giving one. And so it works that way. And a key piece on the play account as well is I want to use a statement that says this: quality versus quantity. I want you to keep that in your mind when you're going to spend your play account money. Meaning, if you're going to a store to buy some new clothes, instead of buying 10 shirts worth $20 each, buy one shirt worth $200.
Right.
And get a better quality because you're going to feel different. You're going to, just the way your whole essence is going to increase when you're wearing a more expensive shirt. It happens. And so go with that quality versus quantity mindset on your play account.
Beautiful. And I think one of the reasons why you suggest that is because if you really want to get wealthy, you have to feel wealthy, right? You got to lock in those feelings in your mind. And by being able to buy a $200 shirt or bottle of champagne, I don't know if I want to drink it at McDonald's, but buying a $300 bottle of champagne, you're putting yourself in that sense of feeling wealthy.
Correct.
And that in turn allows you to recreate that feeling and attract more wealth. It's sort of like Esther Hicks had this exercise that she suggested in her book, and it was the exercise of carrying a $100 bill in your wallet. You're not supposed to spend it, but you'd carry a $100 bill in your wallet. So as you're walking through the mall and you saw something that you really like, you knew that you could afford it.
Yep.
And because those feelings, Esther Hicks' book, The Deliberate Power of Emotions, is all about how feelings create our reality, and it's those feelings which are super important.
And that's it. That's exactly it.
So I want to show you visually, right? A little thing we made. My wife actually made this after attending your webinar, and it's so I remember when we attended, sorry, not your webinar, but the seminar. When we attended the seminar, there was this exercise that you guys were teaching where it was really fun. But every time you find a coin, you're supposed to pick it up and go, "I am a money magnet."
Yes.
Even though it was a measly little coin. This was the jar that we kept all those coins in. Money magnet jar. We've had this since 2008 when we attended the seminar. It's now depleted. It's now depleted because our 6-year-old son raids it for his he raids it for his coin collection. But we keep topping it back. But you know what's really funny? We keep this jar at the entrance of our homes. We've got this beautiful condo, designer condo, but this clumsy, ugly little jar. It's actually made from used Quattro Stagioni pasta sauce. stands right at the entrance of our apartment, and people walk in and they're like, "What the hell is that, Vishen? Money magnet?" But this, my wife believes, is a good luck charm that brings more money into our lives.
Well, and it's exactly, that's it, law of attraction, where your mind is, and it's called entrainment is what it's called. If you want to go on a deeper level of how it works, here's kind of why people go, well, what is the law of attraction? Why does it work? I watched The Secret, I get it, but how does it work in my life? And everything in this world is one thing, and that's energy. And that energy travels in frequencies and vibrations. There's no straight lines in the universe. So your thoughts, your intentions, you're always putting out specific forms of energy. And what happens is the universe or God or Allah, whatever you want to call it, it's there to set you up for success. And so if you're putting out a specific energy that looks like this, it's looking for that same frequency. And so it's not going to pair this frequency up with a frequency like that. It's not going to set it up with a frequency that's like that. It's going to look for the same frequency. And it's going to say, okay, I've got it here and I've got it here. Let's put them together. So having your money magnet jar at the front of your house when you walk into the condo, you're putting the energy out that I am a money magnet, and the universe is going, there you go. Let's put more money into it. And that's exactly why it works. But here's why people get frustrated with it. They go, well, I say I want more money, but it doesn't happen for me. And what they're not realizing is the frequency they're putting out is for crap. Because they're complaining, they're justifying, they're blaming other people for their situation. And so what they're putting out is exactly what they're getting back into their life, because that's how that entrainment works. And so if you want to change your life, put out different frequencies and vibrations. So having that money jar right at the entrance, when you see it visually, the moment you walk in the house, awesome.
Right.
That's what's attracting wealth into your life. That's why you just got a 10 million evaluation on your app company.
You want to
because
see
you truly.
You want to see another version of that money jar? So this was something that a fan gave me. This is from Kazakhstan. It's another version of that money jar. It's dollar bills. It's fake dollar bills, like Monopoly money from all around the world, folded together. There's a tap right on top. Now
Nice.
this one is a little bit. It's a really nice gesture. It's also really hideous. But it still reminds me that money flows easily. But this one I
Yes.
hide behind my computer, out of the public eye.
Yeah,
But it's significant nonetheless.
every time you see it, what does your mind go to? Yeah, money flows easily to me.
Right.
And and I know because you love meditation, that's probably one of the declarations you make to yourself on a consistent basis. And what happens? Money is flowing easily to you.
Right.
Hello. Yeah. That's how cool it is.
So teach us something else. What other remarkable techniques could the people who are listening start applying in their life immediately? They've learned so far. They've learned how to treat money with different specialities and the 6 different ways you need to separate your money. They've learned the money magnet and the money jar technique, both of which are rolled into one. Let's go to a third technique that people can apply in their lives.
Absolutely. I started talking about it earlier about identifying what kind of money personality you have. We all have a personality, and there's actually what we've discovered basically 4 different personalities. You can either be a spender, you can be a saver, you can be an avoider, or you can be what's called a money monk. And to be clear, we all have all 4 in us. However, one of those money personalities happen to be more predominant than the other ones. And so it's our main way of looking at things. So as an example, I'm a spender. My wife and I, we started making pretty good money, but because we were spenders, we started spending even more money than we had made. And that's what got us into deep, deep debt. And so once we were able to identify what kind of money personality we were and understand it, then we were able to start making choices that allowed us to have a more balanced life. And so, as an example, a spender. A spender is a person who likes the nice clothes. They like to go to the mall. They like eating out at the pricey restaurants, driving these great cars. And to them, they want to have money, money, money in their life so they can spend, spend, spend. We'll talk more on them in a couple moments. Saver, just what the name says. That money, every penny that's coming their way, they're tucking it away. They're trying to get it invested. Their retirement is well taken care of. They wear kind of usually hand-me-downs or whatever they can because they don't want to spend money on extra clothing or anything like that unless they absolutely have to. And again, I'll give you some more insight in that. The avoider, these ones are easy to identify because you walk into their house and their bills are not even opened. The envelopes are still closed, for people who still receive their bills through the mail, not electronically. But they don't even open their mail and open their bills anymore because they're just avoiding the entire subject of money altogether. And then there's what's called the money monk. They're the more spiritual people who money is kind of beneath them. They don't want to deal with it. They don't need it. Money's bad. I can be. And it doesn't matter what money personality you are. They're all good. They all have upsides, but they also have downsides. And the reason it's important that you understand what kind you are. As an example, if you're a spender is your personality, what you've got to realize is one of the reasons that most people are spenders is because they're trying to prove something to other people or themselves, a certain level of success, a certain level in life and whatever it is. And it's usually spending money. They're not spending their money, but they're actually spending emotions. It's how they're letting their emotions out because they don't know other ways of doing it. And that's when it becomes an issue. It's okay to be a spender as long as, and this is why we talk about this 6 accounts, is you balance yourself out. And so you keep that 10% play jar, you have fun with it, but you also make sure your financial freedom is taken care of right off the bat. Because when you're thinking about the emotional freedom that you're spending, a spender, you know them very easy too because they have lots of friends. They have friends and they're out at these nice expensive restaurants and they're making new friends all over the place. And so spenders, think about it in that sense, it's about emotion. So it's okay to be a spender, but spend because you're balanced and you're handling it, not because you're trying to prove something. Mm-hmm. One of the things that, and you learned this when you're at the event, is that and you said it with Esther Hicks, the what we call the process of manifestations, your thoughts lead to your feelings, and it's those feelings that lead to your actions. And it's those 3 combined, your actions, that'll create your results. And so and think of it like a tree. You've got the tree in front of you, and your results are the fruits that hang from the tree. And it's the roots underneath the ground that are creating those results. And so if you have a root of proving, and you're spending money to prove something, well, your result may be that you have more money in your life. But the more money you have, the more you think you have to prove yourself. And because you think you have to prove yourself more, then you may get more money. And it becomes this vicious cycle. Mm-hmm. And that's what you want to get out of. Why not have the roots of money come from happiness, joy, just living life? That's the difference. So spender, great to be a spender. I am a spender, but have the balance in your life and watch how that can change it. Right. On the saver, they go to the other extreme. They're trying to buffer themselves, protect themselves, not be hurt. And we joke around all the time that when we're talking to savers, we'll say, how many of you are the firstborn in your household? Because the saver has that trait of being responsible. And so they're trying to build that buffer up and protect themselves. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. The issue is if you're overprotecting. Because if you spend or take your whole life saving all the money that comes your way, if you don't take and nurture that inner child, this is where the problem comes in. Because I know you've heard of people that they've saved all their life and one bad investment or one thing wiped them out financially. Yeah. And usually the reason that happens is because not allowing their inner child to play, it eventually gets to the point where it goes, you haven't let me play. I'm going to take you out. And you sabotage yourself. And that's what ends up happening. And you don't even know what's going on because it's going on in your subconscious. So for a saver, again, the balance for you, I want you to make sure you take that 10% in your play account and get creative with it. Your rule is very, very simple. This account, you must blow it. You must spend it every single month. No matter what, you have to find a way of blowing that money. The only exception to that rule is if it's something bigger that you want to do, then you can save for a maximum of 3 months, and then you have to spend it. You have to blow it on something. That will change their lives for a saver. So spenders, put money into your FFA, 10%, so you protect yourself for your future. Savers, put 10% into your play and make sure you spend it on a monthly basis. Avoiders, here's the thing on an avoider. Again, for them, they're trying to avoid responsibility. They're trying to avoid, they don't want to take that responsibility for their money. And here's the biggest thing I want to say to an avoider. Realize you are in the money game, whether you like it or not. So you might as well play the money game to win. And one of the biggest differences between a rich and successful person and a poor and unsuccessful person is that rich people play the money game to win. Poor people play it not to lose. They go on a defensive game instead of trying to win the game. And if you play any game on defense, you never stand a chance of winning. So you've got to be in the game to win. So for an avoider, it's not saying that you have to handle everything perfectly or you have to be totally responsible, but start using the 6 accounts and get your money working for you in the way it's supposed to. Get a system going, because that's what's the real key, is systems, systems, systems. So get the money working in the way it should. You know, avoiders, one way you can identify them, if you're out at a restaurant and all of a sudden that bill comes to the table, they don't even really look at it except for to see the total. They throw the credit card and they pay it. And it's like they don't even check over the bill, because obviously the waiter or waitress must know what they're doing. So, you know, they wouldn't make a mistake. And so they avoid everything. And so just make sure you manage your money by using the 6 accounts that we talked about earlier, and watch how that changes things. Now, especially because of the work that you do and all the meditating, you meet a lot of money monks in your life. I know you do, correct?
Right.
Yeah, very spiritual. Wow, do I really need money? And here's the thing. For a money monk, they think that they're more pure by being poor. And I'm going to be very blunt on this one. You're not more pure by being poor. You're just poor, plain and simple. And people go, well, no. You know, because I'm so spiritual, I get to help people. And there's no doubt with that. But here's the question. If you're poor, you can only help a certain amount of people, especially if you're one of the ones having to be helped at the same time. By creating wealth in your life, think of how many more people you can help. All of a sudden, if your give jar is at 10% and you're creating, say, $1 million a year, and I'm talking US dollars, $1 million a year into your life net, that means you're giving away $100,000 a year to help other people. And do you think you're going to help a lot of people that way? Absolutely. And that's the key. So for a money monk, one of the ways we say it, and Vishen, you know who Deepak Chopra is, correct?
Right. Mm-hmm.
One of my favorite things that he says is this. He says, you know, people who are spiritual and think they're more connected because they're spiritual, but that aren't rich, he says this. He says, look, our universe is abundant. All you have to do is look around you. Billions of blades of grass, billions of trees, billions of molecules of water. And so if the universe is abundant and you're not, just how connected are you truly? And I love that, because people think, and it's just conditioning that we've been taught as we grew up, that, you know, don't be rich. And so for Money Monk, our suggestion for them is get in the game again. We're not saying you have to be extremely wealthy, but at least you can create financial freedom in your life so that you're not having to rely on others to take care of you, that you can do what you want to do because the money side's handled. And again, using the 6 account system, it becomes a system that works for you, if that makes sense.
That's beautiful. I just realized I'm an avoider. I forgot that portion of the class, but it was a powerful, powerful idea.
Yeah, it makes a big difference when people understand their personality.
Right, right. Beautiful advice. Well, we have about 10 minutes left. Do you have another powerful idea or tip that you can share with us?
What could I teach? You know,
Tell you what, for you, you can go a little bit over 10 minutes.
Here's one of the biggest things that, like yourself, when I first went to the Millionaire Mind Intensive, the course is what changed my life. And probably one of the biggest lessons I understood and I got from it was the emotional releases, and realizing how attached I was to stories that I had made up in my life about why I was where I was or what had happened to me and all that. And one of the things that I love to teach people is the power of non-attachment. well, non-attachment mixed with something else. You've read the book The Four Agreements by
Yes,
Don
Don
Miguel
Miguel
Ruiz?
Ruiz. Yeah.
Yeah. And he says something very powerful. One of the agreements is don't take anything personally.
Hmm.
And no matter what someone says, it's never about you, it's about them. And so even if they're saying something that seems so personal to
Rob,
you,
just 1 second. There's a rustling sound with your mic. Could you just
oh,
adjust your mic wire? I think it's
sorry,
caught.
yeah, it popped down and probably popped into the shirt. So that's
Yeah,
because I'm so moving.
right.
I can't never just sit still. You know
I
that.
know. That's what I like about you. Please continue. You're talking about Don Miguel Ruiz.
Yeah. And he says, even if someone's spewing poison to you that seems so personal, like, hey, you're so fat or you're ugly or whatever, it actually has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with the other person. And basically, they can't see in you something they don't believe about themselves. And when people have this understanding, it actually, for me, it changed my life because I can get in a situation where maybe I'm upset with someone and they're upset with me and we're in an argument. And the moment I catch it, all of a sudden I start realizing that everything I'm saying to them, I'm upset about myself on. And all of a sudden I can start rewording it or calming myself down. And even if they're saying something hurtful to me, I all of a sudden start looking at it in a whole new perspective of, wow, if that's what they're seeing about themselves and they're projecting it out onto me, I have a different kind of um, I won't say necessarily opinion of them. I don't know the right word I want to say, but I look at them in a new perspective, and I can actually take a step back, disidentify from being in it, and see what's really going on. And that's allowed me to go forward in my life because instead of taking someone's poison and hanging on to it, now
Hmm.
allowing it to impact my life and hurt me, I'm able to let it go a little quicker. And I'll give you an example of what I'm talking about. Even though I teach this stuff, I am no different than anybody else. And I'll be the first to admit that. And I'm not perfect. And, back in just after I met you in 2008, I ended up taking a hiatus and I took 3.5 years off. And when I took that hiatus, my mom had passed away a year earlier. And we were doing everything we could to help my dad because my parents never had a lot of money. And so we had been helping them already. But when my mom passed away, my mom and dad, they met 6 weeks later, they got married, and they were married for 42 years before my mom passed away. And so my dad was lost. He was absolutely lost. And so we ended up coming on and becoming his protector, taking care of things, not realizing that here we were taking this 72-year-old gentleman, we were treating him like a child. This gentleman had raised 4 kids, raised us and supported us all his life. Now we were treating him like a child because we took over his finances, cleaning his house, making sure his fridge was stocked, and never understanding why he was getting frustrated and why he started to get into spending habits where he'd start to play the casino or go to bingo and spend his money and his rent money. And I remember being on the phone one day and he's yelling at me and he's getting arguing and he's at the end because I'm basically saying, why are you spending your money like this? You spent your rent money, you're not supposed, and I'm getting upset at him for the wrong reasons. And he all of a sudden said, leave me alone, get out of my life. And he hung up the phone. And in my mind, I went, F you. That's exactly what I'll do. And for 3 years, I wouldn't talk to him. He would call, I wouldn't answer the phone. He'd leave a message, I would automatically delete it. And even though I was teaching this stuff, I had taken it personally because I thought it was, him attacking me, he was in the wrong, all that stuff. And it wasn't until I was looking at coming out of retirement and I started diving back into, because when I step back, I step back from learning, I step back from everything. And if I can put one big message to your students, Vishen, is this: always learn, keep your learning, because the moment you stop, you start going backwards. In 3.5 years that I took off, I saw some of the old non-supportive habits in my life coming back in. And when I started getting back into this, all of a sudden I stepped back and I disidentified and I went, wow, that had nothing to do with him. That was me. And when I got that realization, I called him on the phone and I said, Dad, I said, first of all, I love you. And will you forgive me? And we now have an amazing relationship again. And I went back to the four agreements. And one of the things that Don Miguel Ruiz says is that just because someone puts poison on your plate doesn't mean you have to eat it. So when we take things personally, we eat that poison coming from other people. And so I encourage people to, even if it hurts so bad in the moment, take a step back. And this is where meditation is such a beautiful thing. You give yourself that quiet space, you quiet here and you come to your heart. And you really connect with where you're at. And you see, and when you learn not to take things personally, you can actually get through situations so much easier, because instead of taking in the poison and suppressing it, and here's what happens, right? We suppress something, that emotion, it tries to come up, we suppress it. It comes up even harder, we suppress it even harder. It becomes all of a sudden this tug-of-war game until eventually it comes out so powerful, we can't hold it back, and it comes out in a different, weird way. And so allowing emotion to come in and allow emotion to come out, not taking it personal, if you can practice and I won't say necessarily master that technique, but get good at it, as good as you can, that's what will really, really impact people's lives. Because now, even if you're in an embroiled argument with someone, when the argument's over, you can let it go and say, and check in with yourself and go, wow, what was I saying and how is that affecting my life? Why would I come up with that stuff? And now watch the direction you can go in. Does that make sense?
Beautiful. Beautiful ideas, Rob. Thank you so much for sharing that.
My pleasure.
And so we wrap up this coaching call for Consciousness Engineering. I hope you guys enjoyed the ideas. Don't forget the money jar. Don't forget the 6 different specialities of money and all the other wisdom that Rob imparted. I do recommend this book, Secrets of a Millionaire Mind. Definitely read it. And if you get a chance, check out the seminar. Rob, you teach this around the world?
I do. I'm actually going to be back I'm going to be back in July, all through Asia again.
Oh, cool. And when are you doing this in North America? That's where most of our audience is from. Is there a website that people can go to?
Yeah, the website would be peakpotentials.com.
Got it. Okay, peakpotentials.com. Thank you so much, Rob.
My pleasure.
Take care, all. Bye. Thanks for joining us.